In this season of uncertainty, there's been a lot of talk about the strain, the mental strain that people are dealing with. And I think it's true of us, certainly nonprofit leaders. As we lead others, often we forget to take care of ourselves. And so we wanted to do something to address that. We've asked our friend Janie Taylor, the director of CareNet Counseling, if she could help us by sharing some thoughts about how to effectively take care of ourselves, our own souls, as we try to lead and shepherd others.
There's an interesting thing about growing up in Eastern North Carolina. Well, my grandmother, who died in her 80s, never wanted indoor plumbing. Now, growing up in town, part of my job during the summers was to go and help on the farm, which meant there were times that I really wished she had indoor plumbing. Now, we're not going to talk about the outhouse. We're not going to talk about the things related to that. But I want to take just a moment to talk about the old country well. Because you see, in the world that we're living in right now with the pandemic, I feel that many times it's kind of like that. So imagine it's lunchtime and grandmom sends you out to the pump to get some water. So you get out to the pump and you take the handle and you start pumping and nothing comes. Nothing. You try again and all you get is that clanging sound of metal. You know what you have to do? You head to the back porch, you get that jug of water and you carry it back to the pump. Then you pour it in to recreate that vacuum. Because you see, during the time that the pump hasn't been used, that vacuum seal has broken. And all you get is that dry, clicking clunk. What does that have to do with us today? I want you to think with me a minute. Okay? What happens when you cut your TV on? What happens when you go to social media? What is the topic of every conversation? What kind of mood, what kind of spirit are you surrounded by? There are people that are hurting. There are so many needs. There are things that call for our attention. And the reality is, as people of faith, as people who care, as people in ministry, we want to make a difference. But there are times that our hearts, our souls, our very being are like that well. They're empty. Now, the only way I know that you can give things that you don't have is on credit, and that's not healthy. Another topic. But I want you to think about, where is that resource, that place that we must attend? Now, hold that thought a minute, okay? And while you do, I want you to do something. A very simple thing. I want you to breathe. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. And take note of the very air you breathe. Because there's an interesting thing about the word air. The same word, the Greek word, pneuma, that is translated as air, can also be translated as breath of life and as the Spirit of God. Wow, wait a minute. Air, breath of life, which is a combination of air and fire, and the Spirit. So I wonder, are we aware of the very air we breathe? Do we take time to sit and just be still and know that He is God before we try to conquer the world? Do we spend that time just hearing birds and meditating and praying and letting God Himself speak? Because that leads to another question. Whose voice is the loudest? The voice of fear, the voice of the world, the culture in which we live, or that still small voice that actually gives us life? What would I encourage you to do? Reflect on that old country well, but more so, I want you to breathe. And I want you to let the Spirit Himself be the very air